Hello, welcome to a live chat. I think I might start doing a weekly Sunday live chat around 11 a.m. on any topic, and anyone can join. I figure 11 to 12, just 1 hour, a short chat where we can talk about comic books or movies or whatever. Anyone can chime in. This way, it's not interfere with the football season. Will be done by noon-ish. So this is the first one. I'm just gonna talk away, and then for those that's interested in joining, you can jump in. I'm not sure how this will work. I have never done a live chat with kind of like an impromptu people that can just jump in and ask questions or whatever. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask away. But the topic today is aging of comic books. I have had this question on and off a few times over the years on like what age comic books and what is a proper way to preserve them. Okay, and there are plenty of videos online on what to use, from polybag to mylar, acid-free backing boards, all that stuff. There are a ton. You don't need me to tell you how to store them. But I think if I can shed any lights, pun intended, on what age comic books, maybe that will help you in deciding how to store your books and how to preserve them. Okay, because understanding the process of aging of paper is, I think, important. I'm a comic book geek. I love comic book enough that over the years I spent a lot of time researching on how paper will produce, how comic books will produce. And this video is more related to books that were produced in the 80s and earlier. Since the introduction of Baxter paper and all the newer paper in the 90s and onward, that's a different beast altogether. I don't really know and have not researched enough on those papers to know how they age. I understand enough about the books that were produced in the 80s all the way to the 30s, so that I can be more informed about those books. But you have to understand, pulps, comic books, use the cheapest pulp possible. So you're not talking about high quality, at least not from the 30s through the 80s. And to understand how books age, one must understand how paper were made. Paper were made out of woods, okay? And woods, trees, plants have a molecular, I'm not sure the term, the biology term for this, but it's a molecule. I think I'm sure those that know more scientific term will correct me, and feel free to do so. They are made. Well, there's a molecule called lignin, Lignin. Lignin is a molecule that provides the cell wall for plants and trees, and that's what gives the structure stiffness of the plants and the trees. So when trees are being chopped up into wood chips and then cooked up into paste, lignin is part of the pulp, okay, that exists in order to be pressed into paper, and depends on what kind of paper are being made. Lignin is then either removed or left in. Sometimes it's only removed in certain amount, sometimes it's removed in a great amount, and sometimes none. For those of familiar with the typical paper bag, okay? Paper bag cardboard are likely to be made from pulps that didn't take out any lignin. There's no reason to take the lignin out because the lignin is the darker matters in the pulp. Okay, so if you want to have whiter paper, you want to remove as much of the lignin as possible, as well as using bleach and whatever other solvent or chemical paper company use to whiten the paper. The lignin provide the stiffness, as I mentioned, in the cardboard and the paper bag. And because of that, you know, if you look at the golden age, as well as silver age comic books, they use thicker, stiffer material for the covers. And that is one reason why you see a lot of golden age book as well as silver age book with really brown, yellow, and tan covers, because those covers was exposed to all the elements that age comic books. When lignin is exposed to air, oxygen, heat, humidity, as well as sunlight, UV light, those four are the enemy of paper, okay? When lignin is exposed to those four elements, not necessarily all four elements at the same time, but you know, when they're exposed to those elements, they went through an oxidation process. And the oxidation process caused the lignin to become darker again. And that is what caused the paper to turn yellow and brown and tan. When the lignin oxidizes, it breaks down the paper, it turns yellow, okay? That's what caused aging in comic books. And the same four element as far as heat, humidity, UV light, and then oxygen, those same four also break down poly bags. For those that have seen poly bags that are still in the seal package, you know, when they sell like 100 bags and they seal them in a bag, those bags stay pristine for decades. But the moment that you break the seal, break the bags and take the poly bags out and they're exposed to the elements I mentioned, then they start to degrade. That's what degrade the bags. And Mylar bag does not degrade with those four elements, okay? So, you know, for those who want to know why poly bag turn yellow and wrinkly and ripple, that's what caused the poly bag to turn, okay? You don't even have to put a comic book inside a bag to cause the bag to degrade. The element, oxygen, lights, humidity, heat, cause a bags to break down and degrade, okay? So it's kind of, well, it's kind of ironic that both paper and bag age by the same elements, similar elements, okay? So how you store your books, where you store your books and how you store them have, in my opinion, a bigger factor than whether you use poly or Mylar, okay? This is not a debate that, you know, you should use Mylar or you should use poly. I see a lot of debates of that every time people talk about what kind of storage a collector should use. For those that watch my videos, you see that, you know, I don't, or, you know, I don't use top loaders. I don't use micro chamber papers. I use Mylar for some books. I use MyLight for some books. I use poly for some books. For the cheaper stuff, I use poly. And I don't care if the bag turns yellow or wrinkly. I change them whenever I can. But for the more expensive books, then I do my best to keep them in Mylar or My Light. And it's more important for me to keep my books in the environment that give them the optimal protection, such as low heat, cool place, low humidity, and away from lights. Sure, I take my books out to read on occasion to do videos, but for the most part, they stay in boxes, even on the shelf. I keep a lot of my books in a small shelf, like a container like that. And as long as the books are tied together, and then when the books are stacked tight in boxes or container, they're not really exposed to a lot of oxygen. So it's a big part of preventing them from being aged by exposed to air. One of the reasons why a lot of people love to collect slab, because as you know, slab books that are in slab are tightly sealed to prevent minimal exposure to oxygen. Okay. And like I said, a lot of people don't think about it, but oxygen is one of the worst things for for paper. And then when you add the other element with, heat, humidity, and sunlight, then that's a combination of speeding up aging. Perhaps the best example of how those elements age paper is sun shadow, dust shadow. For those that are familiar or have seen books that have the sun shadow or the dust shadow, I should pull out some example, because I have a few books that have sun shadow on the covers. Those are best example of what happened to paper when they are exposed to the environment. Okay, being free, when they're not in bags and board and not neatly put in a dark place. If they just lay there like a stack of books that just lay there in an attic, and they're exposed to hot heat, humidity, and oxygen, you don't need sunlight. It would speed up the oxidation process and cause that exposed covers, part of the covers, to turn yellow. And then the part that is underneath another book is protected. So you have the line, the shadow. Okay, that's what causes a sun shadow. And whenever you see that, that's a very good example of how the elements can speed up the degradation of papers. Other than that, I don't have much more to add as far as what age comic books. I enjoy books enough that I think most collectors out there know how to protect their books, and there's a lot of things that can harm a book. They call handling. I think that causes more damage than anything else. And I think I can't stress enough that I make sure that I wash my hand, make sure that my hand is free of oily substance or anything, food, so that when I flip through the books, I don't damage them. I think that is the worst thing that we can do, is damage the books when we handle them. Okay, there's more potential of damage from handling than storing, in my opinion. I certainly have damaged more books from just poor handling. Sometimes books slip out of my hand and I drop the books or whatever. So it has happened. That's part of being a comic book collector and readers, is it will happen. it's hard to believe if anyone that has handled books for 30, 40, 50 years have never had any kind of accidents with books while reading them or holding them or putting them away. That happened to all of us. So I have seen many people accidentally damage a book when they handle the book. So I'm not immune to that. I have done my fair share of self-inflicting damage. Other than that, if anybody else jump in, that would be great. If not, I will keep talking until I run out of things to say. For those that want to participate in a live chat in the future with specific topic, feel free to contact me. I'd be more than happy to let other participants lead the discussion. I don't need to be the one that lead the discussion. In fact, if you want to hold a live chat and invite me, that's fine too. As long as the time fit. For now, I like to do a live chat every Sunday between 11 and 12 because I find that my schedule tend to be the best at that time. I don't have anything planned. If it's during football season, I like to watch the pre-game discussion, so that won't start until after 12 o'clock anyway. So other than that, the big news for me last week was my 10th-year wedding anniversary with my wife. So that was nice. I'm a lucky man. I have a wonderful wife and a wonderful son, so I can't say enough on how life is great. We celebrate our 10-year anniversary. Nothing special. My son, this is today, Sunday, is his last free day. School start tomorrow. I'm not sure when school start for other kids around the country, but for us, schools start tomorrow. So last Friday we had an orientation with his new teachers, and we went to school to meet the new teachers, to get to know where his new classroom is going to be, and meet his new classmates and all that stuff. And it's nice. It's nice to be able to meet up with other parents in order to get to know them. In fact, we might be hosting. One of the parents mentioned about throwing a little party and next weekend, so that all the kids can play miniature golf together and then have lunch together, and then we all can hang out and get to know. We did the same thing last year. Last year, we did the same thing, and we get to meet a bunch of parents and get to know the kids and get to know what kind of friends my son is going to have. Only one classmate from last year is going to be in his class this year. So he has something like 14 new classmates. We'll see how that works out. Anthony is a fairly friendly kid, but he certainly was not buddies with every single classmate last year. He has his little cliques. As young as he was, he had 3 or 4 buddies that they did everything together. And none of those kids are in his class this year. So he's gonna have to navigate and find new friends. Let's hope so. And he already told us that at lunch, I'm hanging out with my 3 other friends from last year. That's my best friend. So we'll see if other kids can make inroad with Anthony. He has specific friends that he want to hang out with. On my front, nothing new. Certainly haven't bought any new comic books in the last 2 weeks, and I don't plan to look for anything in the next couple of weeks either. Still trying to get one of my business idea to take off. Trying to actually tomorrow I plan to contact the dean of the business school of University of South Florida. The campus is the MBA campus is about 20 minutes from my house. I have been there a few times, but I plan to call him up and see if there's anything that I can do with the school. You know, I'm not familiar with the MBA program at that school. I'm not sure if they have an entrepreneur program or class. Most MBA program have some kind of entrepreneurship thing going on. I would love to find out more if they have one, and if so, I'd like to work with that professor to somehow pitch my ideas. You know, to them. I have a few business ideas that I have been working on in the past 3 to 4 months, and I just can't seem to make traction on my own. You know, one of the things that I learned over the years is I can't do everything myself, and unless I can convince other people to join me into this journey, I just can't do everything myself. So I'm hoping that I can meet up with the dean of the MBA program, have a chat with him, and see if there's any way that we can do something together. I can perhaps give a talk at the school to a potential entrepreneur and see if I can pick anyone interested in joining my startup. But that's about the biggest thing with me. Other than that, the stock market is crashing, which is a good thing. You know, for those that follow the stock market, it's nobody like to see the stock market go down. You know, it's very human to like expect the market to go up and make money all the time, but we have not had a 10% correction in a long time. So, you know, that's one reason why have been very cautious for the past 2 years. You know, I had kept a high balance in cash. And it's a good thing. You know, now that the market has came down, the S&P is down almost 7% from the all-time high. It's starting to look cheap for some stock, but I think there's more pains to go. I expect tomorrow to be another ugly day after an ugly week last week. It reminded a lot of people that bad things happen very fast with the stock market, and it's important to keep an even keel emotion with the stock market. That's one thing that I am lucky to have, that kind of mental mindset, because I think those that can't handle the roller coaster ride with the stock market shouldn't be in the market, because you can go crazy. One can go crazy with the big ups and downs with the stock market, but if you can find a balance, you know, when the stock is up, you don't get too high on yourself. You don't go out there and spend all your money because you think you're super rich, and then when the market is falling, you don't think the sky is falling, and you gotta run. You know, the Costanzo rule apply with the stock market. Okay, but now is not the time to sell. If you are selling in panic last week, you know, I'm not good enough of a trader to get out now and get back in at the bottom. The best thing to be is in a position where I have a lot of cash on the side. I can be patient using that cash. For the position I have right now, it's okay if they go down another 5% or 10%. That's fine. I will use my cash to buy more of the stocks that I want to own. There's plenty of stock that I have not owned yet that are getting cheap and will be cheaper this week. We need to see a big, last week we already see the big washout. When you see indiscriminate selling of every company in every sectors, it's a good thing. That's when you know there are not buyers on a dip, because everybody is either selling or not buying. Okay, the combination of people selling and a lot of people like me not buying is what caused the market to like the steep drop. And until buyers are willing, to step in, you're not going to see a rebound in the market anytime soon. Sellers going to be there. I think we're going to have a lot of sellers this week. The question is, when will buyers step in? Because they felt the bargain are too great to ignore. Okay, every selling will hit the climax before buyers start to step in and say, okay, the stock has dropped enough and I can stomach another few percentage down, but now it's a time to start to nibble. And I don't think there's any nibbling yet, at least not the last couple of days in the market. And that is it. Unfortunately, I didn't notify anybody to invite to the chat, so look like that's it. There's no more, nothing else to talk about. Life is good. Nothing to complain about. I'm a lucky man. Let's see. As far as movies, before I go, I did see Rogue Nation, which I did a review. I will load that review sometime this week, in the next couple of days. So I did see that, but that's the end of the summer movie. There's nothing else left to watch. I'm gonna have to wait until the fall to see, whatever blockbuster they're gonna have. For sure, Superman versus Batman, highly anticipated. Can't wait to see that movie. That's next year. Because at Christmas you have Star Wars. Can't wait to see that, but I'm not sure what else is on the radar. I'm sure there are movies coming out between now and Christmas that I will go see, but nothing jump out, at least not in my brain, as far as, oh, I can't wait to see this movie outside of Star Wars in December. That's it. Anyhow, and this ends my first Sunday chat with Nick. For those that are interested in joining me next Sunday for 45 minutes to an hour, I'm trying to keep it between 11 and 12. Go ahead, shoot me a message or email me. If you want a certain topic to discuss, let me know. Otherwise, we're just gonna shoot the breeze and just go with whatever is on our mind. Anyhow, thanks for watching.